Dear children, on behalf of Department of Public Instructions, Block Education Office Vadalkere, how to score good marks in science. In that, we are going to discuss an important concepts in the chapter Acids, Bases and Salts. Part 1. For this work, I would like to thank our beloved DDPI administration, Shri K. Ravishankar Reddy sir, and also I would like to thank our beloved DDPI development, Shri SKB Prasad sir, and I would like to thank our respected BEO, Shri CM Tippeswamy sir, and I would like to thank our respected subject inspector, Shri H. Govindappa sir, and I would like to thank our ECO Manjunath sir, and presidents, secretary, and members of all subject clubs Vadalkere. This audio lesson is presented by Kumaraswamy MH, Assistant Teacher, Government High School, Teklavatti, Vadalkere Taluk, Chitradurga District. Dear children, in this chapter, we are going to discuss a very important concepts which are asked for examination: acids, bases and salts. You know that acids have sour to taste, they turn blue litmus to red. Bases have bitter to taste and turn the red litmus to blue. Indicators. Dear children, there are two types of indicators: natural indicators, artificial indicators. Example for natural indicators: litmus, turmeric. And example for artificial indicators: phenolphthalein, methyl orange, etc. Now, understanding the chemical properties of acids and bases. In that, we are doing a small activity. I am going to explain you how this activity has to be done. Take a few drops of hydrochloric acid, sodium hydroxide, acetic acid, calcium hydroxide separately in different watch glass and test with a drop of indicators as shown in the table. Dear children, can you guess the change in color? Yes. When hydrochloric acid reacts with red litmus solution, there is no change in color. When HCl acts with blue litmus solution, so there is a change in color, blue to red. When HCl reacts with methyl orange, then the orange color of changes to red. When phenolphthalein reacts with HCl, there is no change in color. When red litmus solution in sodium hydroxide, there is a color change, red to blue. When blue litmus solution in sodium hydroxide, there is no change in color. Methyl orange in sodium hydroxide changes to yellow. Phenolphthalein in sodium hydroxide changes to pink. Red litmus solution in acetic acid, there is no change in color. Blue litmus solution in acetic acid, there is change in color, blue to red. Methyl orange in acetic acid, there is change in color, that is changes to red. Phenolphthalein in acetic acid, no change in color. Likewise, red litmus solution in calcium hydroxide changes to blue. Blue litmus solution in calcium hydroxide, there is no change in color. Methyl orange in calcium hydroxide changes to yellow. Phenolphthalein in calcium hydroxide changes to pink. These indicators tells us whether a substance is acidic or basic by change in color. Dear students, there are some substances whose odor changes in acidic or basic media. These are called olfactory indicators. Next, how do acids and bases react with metals? Dear students, set up the instruments as shown in the figure. This figure is very important and asked in examination for 3 marks. Take few pieces of zinc granules in a test tube and add 5 ml of dilute sulfuric acid. Pass the produced gas into a soap solution. Test the gas contained in bubbles by bringing a burning candle near the bubble. When the candle is brought near the soap bubbles, the gas present inside the bubble burns with a pop sound. This means metal displaces hydrogen atoms from the acids as hydrogen gas and forms a compound called salt. Acid, when reacts with metal, gives rise to salt and hydrogen gas. Dear children, we have taken zinc granules and sulfuric acid in a test tube. Zinc reacts with sulfuric acid. It gives rise to zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas. Likewise, take a few pieces of zinc granules in a test tube, add 2 ml of dilute sodium hydroxide instead of sulfuric acid and warm the content. Pass the gas produced into a soap solution. Test the gas obtained in bubbles by bringing a burning candle near the bubble. When the candle is brought near the soap bubbles, the gas present inside the bubble burns with a pop sound. This means metal displaces hydrogen atoms from the base as hydrogen gas and forms a compound called a salt. Dear children, base reacts with metal, gives rise to salt and hydrogen gas. So we have taken zinc granules and sodium hydroxide. So when zinc reacts with sodium hydroxide, it will form sodium zincate and hydrogen gas. Dear children, liberation of gas and their identifications. When oxygen liberates, it makes the incense stick to glow brighter. When hydrogen gas liberates, burns with pop sound. When carbon dioxide gas liberates, it is used in fire extinguisher, turns lime water milky. When sulfur dioxide gas liberates, it will produce a pungent odor. When nitrogen dioxide gas liberates, it will produce a brown color. When chlorine gas liberates, it will produce a pungent odor. Like this, we can identify the liberation of gases in a chemical reaction. Passing carbon dioxide gas through calcium hydroxide solution. Dear children, set up the instrument as shown in the figure. Take 2 test tubes as shown in the figure, label them as A and B. Take about 0.5 gram of sodium carbonate in test tube A and about 0.5 gram of sodium hydrogen carbonate in test tube B. Add about 2 ml of dilute HCl to both the test tubes. Pass the gas produced in each case through lime water. So lime water means calcium hydroxide solution. What you are going to observe? See the chemical reactions takes place. The reaction occurring in test tube A. So dear children, in test tube A, we have taken sodium carbonate and we put hydrochloric acid. The reaction takes place is it forms sodium chloride, water and liberates carbon dioxide gas. In test tube B, we have taken sodium hydrogen carbonate and we are added HCl. It will form sodium chloride, water and carbon dioxide. In both the test tube, we are observed that carbon dioxide gas is liberated. On passing, the carbon dioxide gas evolved through lime water. That means lime water means calcium hydroxide. So through calcium hydroxide, we are passed carbon dioxide gas. We get a milky white precipitate of calcium carbonate with the liberation of water. If we pass excess carbon dioxide, then what happens? If we pass excess carbon dioxide through a calcium carbonate, then it produces a soluble calcium hydrogen carbonate. Limestone, chalk and marble are different forms of calcium carbonate. All metal carbonates and hydrogen carbonates react with acids to give a corresponding salt and carbon dioxide and water. Dear children, how do acids and bases react with each other? For this, we are going to do a small activity. Take about 2 ml of dilute sodium hydroxide solution in a test tube and add 2 drops of phenolphthalein solution. Dear children, phenolphthalein in sodium hydroxide turns pink. You are observing a pink colored solution in a conical flask. Add dilute HCl solution to that pink colored solution, drop by drop. What you will observe? So, pink color disappears slowly. The effect of a base is nullified by an acid and vice versa. The reaction between an acid and a base to give a salt and water is known as neutralization reaction. Dear children, this question must be asked in examination. What is neutralization reaction? Give example. The answer is the reaction between an acid and a base to give a salt and water is known as neutralization reaction. Example, sodium hydroxide is a base, reacts with hydrochloric acid is an acid. It gives rise to a salt called sodium chloride and water. See the schematic diagram. Neutralization reaction, acid plus base gives rise to a salt and water. Next, we are going to discuss reaction of metallic oxides with acids. Dear children, when dilute HCl is added to the black copper oxide, it turns into blue-green colored copper chloride. In picture, you are going to see copper oxide which is black in color, and dilute HCl is added to that black colored CuO. It will form blue-green colored copper chloride. The reaction is CuO plus 2 HCl. It gives rise to CuCl2, that means copper chloride and water. Metal oxides reacts with acids. It gives salt and water. Dear children, metallic oxides reacts with acids to give salts and water. This is similar to the reaction of base with an acid. So, metallic oxides are said to be basic oxides. Next, reaction of non-metallic oxide with base. Dear children, when carbon dioxide is passed through the calcium hydroxide solution, you can see the white precipitate of calcium carbonate is formed in third test tube. So see this picture, dear children. When carbon dioxide gas is passed through the calcium hydroxide solution, see this, light white color precipitate is going to form, and finally a milky white precipitate is formed. It is a precipitate of calcium carbonate. Reaction is CO2 plus CaOH twice gives rise to CaCO3 plus H2O. Dear children, which means non-metallic oxides reacts with base gives rise to salt and water. Non-metallic oxides reacts with base to give salt and water. This is similar to the reaction of base with an acid. So, non-metallic oxides are said to be acidic oxides. What do all acids and all bases have in common? Do you think? Yes. Acids contain H plus ion as cation and anion such as Cl minus in hydrochloric acid, NO3 minus in nitric acid, SO4 2 minus in sulfuric acid, CH3COO minus in acetic acid. Since the cation present in acid is H plus, this suggests that acids produce hydrogen ions, that is H plus, in solution, which are responsible for their acidic properties. Bases contain OH minus ion as anion and cations such as Na plus in sodium hydroxide, K plus in potassium hydroxide, Ca2 plus in calcium hydroxide. Dear children, since the anion present in bases is OH minus, this suggests that bases produce hydroxide ion, that is OH minus, in solution, which are responsible for their basic properties. Dear children, do you think what happens to an acid or a base in water solution? Take about 1 gram of solid sodium chloride in a clean and dry test tube and set up the apparatus as shown in figure. Add some concentrated sulfuric acid to the test tube. Test the gas evolved successively with dry and wet blue litmus paper. Dear children, do you think is dry litmus paper turns its color or wet blue litmus paper turns its color? Hydrogen ions in HCl are produced in the presence of water. The separation of H plus ion form HCl molecules cannot occur in the absence of water. So, HCl when reacts with water form H3O plus Cl minus. Hydrogen ions cannot exist alone, but they exist after combining with water molecules. Thus, hydrogen ion must always be shown as H plus aqueous or hydronium ion H3O plus. When hydrogen liberated is combines with water to form hydronium ion. What happens when a base is dissolved in water? Dear children, here I had given 2 examples. Sodium hydroxide, when dissolved in water, it will ionize as Na plus OH minus. Likewise, potassium hydroxide, when dissolved in water, it will ionize like K plus OH minus ion. All acids generate H plus and all bases generate OH minus, which means when acid reacts with base gives rise to salt and water. Dear children, can you complete the reactions given below? HCl when reacts with KOH, H2SO4 when reacts with sodium hydroxide. Can you complete this work? Yes, you must complete this work. This type of questions can be asked in examination. Hydrochloric acid when reacts with potassium hydroxide, it will form potassium chloride and water. Likewise, sulfuric acid when reacts with sodium hydroxide, it will form sodium sulfate plus water. The process of mixing an acid or base with water is called dilution. So this may ask for 1 mark. What is dilution? The process of mixing an acid or base with water is called dilution. Dear children, dilution results in decrease in the concentration of ions. It may be H3O plus or OH minus ions per unit volume. The process of dissolving an acid or a base in water is a highly exothermic one. Do you know what is exothermic reactions? Heat liberating reactions. The acid must always be added slowly to water with constant stirring. Dear children, you must be very careful when you are going to add acid to water because it is an exothermic reaction. So we have to add acid to water slowly, not water to acid. What happens if water is added to a concentrated acid? The heat generated may cause the mixture to splash out and cause burns. The glass container may also break due to excessive local heating. Thank you for listening my lesson. Dear children, this completes part 1 of the lesson acids, bases and salts. Thank you.